Welcome to some Gold 1 Zerg coaching. Let's call our amazing student. We will phone them. Bring, 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 bring. It's a Zerg phone. Bring, bring.
Hello.
Yo, Konosar.
What's up?
You ready to learn shit and kick ass?
Learn shit. Yes. Kick ass. We'll work on it.
Later on, we'll get to that step.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. If you want to jump into a game, you can just watch with others if you go to replays and then click that.
Sweet. So I have some goals I want to get out first and make sure that I'm effective for this call. But so I'm gold 1. I have not had time to push ladder like this before, so I think I'm in a good place to really increase my rank, and I'd like to do that over the course of the next few months. So if you're open to it, let's do multiple coaching sessions, and maybe you can get like a testimonial of your coaching abilities.
Sure. I'm up for the challenge. The most and greatest thing that you have to do is drone more. Always. If you're gold 1, you need a drone more. When I coach a diamond 3 people, I tell them they need a drone more as well. So the drone is the most important unit for you to rank up. Even if you're doing aggressive styles, you still have to hit your drone goal very, very fast. So just before you look at anything in your own games, anytime you see idle larva and you're below 70 drones, you should be droning with that larva.
All right. Yeah.
Just cook with that.
Good. We'll work on that. So I've got a couple replays. Let's just go through them. One Protoss and one Terran, and then we'll go from there.
Sweet. You don't need to remember everything. I'll be typing up notes as we go.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yes. You can right-click me and then promote to lobby host over on the left side. Sweet. All right. What is your approximate game plan against Protoss?
Check for Cannon Rush, then go into Roach Ravager with scouting, try to do 3 base. Above 3 base, I start to fall apart in terms of macro.
Cool. We'll look at your build and I'll see if there are any things we can tighten up. Hatch first versus pull first doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. If they block this, usually you just want to take your third. Perfect. Good job. Good job. Queen right away. Okay. Let's cook the queen. And the main right away. Okay, queen ASAP. And pull is done. Whether you go hatch cast pool or pull first, whichever build you choose, you should try to do that every time just to build consistency.
Sure.
And you let the inconsistency fall with your opponent's variation. So they're going Forge, Gateway, Gateway, just to kind of inform what different builds mean. Off the cuff, if you're looking at their wall off here with your Overlord, what does this tell you?
Double gateway, so decent investment into ground units.
They also didn't make a cyber core, and they have a defensive cannon. So this is a super defensive setup from them. They're not going to be able to hurt you for a long time. So you have a lot of freedom to drone a bunch. Their gateway timings are going to be late. Their Oracle harass is going to be late because there's no cyber core. They're pretty much just going to be chilling at home. For a fun fact, this kind of wall off, Zerg could just kill them by getting Ling speed, first 100 gas, and then a Bane nest. 5 Banelings would do splash damage and kill both the cannon and the pylon at the same time. You don't need to react to walls that way, but that's a big part of why someone commented on my other coaching video. They were like, actually, people know how to wall off in Platinum. And it's like, not really. This isn't a safe wall to certain things. But
5 Banelings?
5 banelings is enough to blow up the cannon and the pylon at the same time, yes. 5 is a magic number to destroy supply depots and pylons.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay, another little note for you here. Ling speed, first 100 gas, then pull off gas entirely, and then 330 refill the gas in main. That's a very important step to be able to get ahead in workers. Just for a fundamental difference between Protoss and Zerg, Protoss tends to get 2 bases of worker saturation faster because of Chrono Boost, and Zerg tends to catch up and then pass them with 3 bases of eco. In this particular game, your opponent is not really very ahead of you in workers because they didn't use Chrono in their main. That's just a blunder on their part, but higher level Protoss players should be using that Chrono Boost more. So you're really trying to eke out any advantage you can in getting your stuff going. This macro hatch should have been at the natural here. And drones away. I like dropping a creep tumor at the natural first. I know this game's kind of wonky because you have your forward base, but just getting the bases connected. If I'm thinking about the early game macro checklist, I'll just type out some things that you want to make sure you have every single time. Early game macro checklist. You want 70 drones, creep connection between bases, all bases injected, 7 queens, lair, and roach horn, and 1 evo for upgrades. If you have all of those things, you're pretty much slamming people. So this game, the things that we're missing are creep connection. The third base could have been a little bit earlier. If they do this pylon crap, let's just go back and kind of think about the tempo of this thing. It's not too bad to just send 1 drone to attack the pylon. So as your pool finishes here, you send lings right away and then have 1 drone attack this and then just rebuild the base. Because this is 100 resources lost for them to put the pylon there and delay it. You really, really want to get your 3 bases up as fast as you can. And then with this kind of build from them, you're pretty much green light to get to 60 or 70 drones before you actually have to make Roach Ravager. So it was just...
to me, looking at the double gateway, I would think that's a faster rush, but you're saying the gateway is acting as more of a wall than for production units?
Yes, this is a Protoss who's scared of Zerglings in their base early on. That's why they made this wall. They haven't even used these gateways. Sending 2 Zealots early is very bad because your Overlord could see it and you could just make 10 Lings and then fight with your Queens. So their build is a purely defensive one. So if you see them wall off completely, that's usually a defensive tell, especially if they have a forge and a cannon in the wall.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have space. And then now they're going for Sky Toss. So this is a good example of 2 bases, full passive Protoss. The only thing they did to you was block your base with a pylon. The aggressive tells from Protoss would be an early Cyber Core, Chrono boosting the gateways, putting Adepts in your base, sending a Prism with stuff. This is the polar opposite of that. They're actually just hiding in their base and trying to get some air units. And I would say you don't really need to make any fighting units until you get 50 drones. That's your first checkpoint. So say drone to 50 before making any roachling, and then keep checking for opponent third base timing. I'm not really sure what an average third base timing would be in Gold League or in Platinum, but just having 1 ling at either base is really good. It looks like you have your army on the 1 hotkey and then your hatches on 4, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Yeah, you can just deselect 2 lings and just have 1 sit here and 1 sit there. Okay, so they're really going 2 base carrier. So the hard counter to this would be to drone 3 bases mineral saturation as fast as you can, and then just spam queens into a spire, and then get some corruptors, and you pretty much win the game. but we've been pretty behind in drones so far, mainly based on the delay of the natural. And then don't take any further gases until you have 3 bases full of minerals. So your main base is perfect, good job. Your your third base, you have mineral saturation but not gas saturation. This third base, this natural should have full mineral saturation before you take the rest of your gases. So I'll put
3 base mineral saturation and then into gas. Is that right?
and then 4 more gases. So
Okay.
once you get your layer, I'll type this out for you. 4-minute layer plus second gas in main. So you did that correctly, and then drone up to 3 bases mineral saturation before taking 4 more gas plus 4th base. Yeah, because you need minerals for almost everything.
Yeah. Your main gas expenditures before then are what? You're going into layer. What other gas expenditures do you have until that point?
Layer, roach speed, and +1 range attack. That's all you really need.
Okay.
Those are pretty cheap too, which is why 2 gas is enough to afford all those things. And then you had your link speed from the early game. This kind of build from them, if you don't see the carriers for a bit, it can be a fairly big surprise. But the nice thing about having a heavy drone count is you can flex into whatever tech you need because you're rich. But in this case, we've been making roaches off of 39 workers. You know, you can mouse over your worker count in the upper right if you look at your supply.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So try to pretty much always get to 50 before you make any roaches. You won't really face any builds where you need to make roaches before 50 drones. Until you get to GM. And if you get to GM, I'll buy you a beer.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Cool. So in terms of the just kind of breaking down Zerg macro and what matters the most, I'll give you a priority system for your macro cycle. Macro cycle priorities. Let's say number 1 is droning to our goal. Number 2 is injecting our bases. Number 3 is not being supply blocked. Number 4 is creep. And number 5 is spending larva into units. That's pretty much what you're going at here. So the injects are going to be super duper important. You want to always do that. Making sure every base is fully saturated. Having over 16 is not bad. This is another misconception that they created by changing what the worker count is written as on the base. This 12 out of 16 is big sad. Anything like 18 out of 16 is good because you're getting full value from your base and then a little bit more. If you're working with this kind of worker count, I know you just built 4 spores, but the idea for Zerg is you want to over drone your bases because look at your natural, you've got 0 out of 16. Let's say you sent 24 drones at your second base. We're just ignoring this push right now. We'll get to that in a second. But you drone 24 workers at this open base where there's nothing mining yet. And if you put 16, that's 24 minus 16, so you have 8 left over. And you'd be like, wow, I have 8 more workers than I need. But if you take 2 extractors, then you have 6 workers left, which perfectly fills the gas. So for every new base that you take, you can just think about yeeting 24 drones at it, and then it's done. You can fix the saturation later. The most important thing is as soon as you get the larva, like you have your 15 larvae here, all of that just immediately goes into drones, and then you can fix it after taking the extractors, filling the extractors, and getting a spore.
Okay.
Yeah. And then your target queen count is basically always 7 unless something weird happens, like this kind of a build. In this game here, we're pretty dead. I like that you decided to base race because your Roach Ravager is not going to help against the carriers anyway. So that was a good call.
Right.
But if you're wondering what Protoss is doing on 2 bases, you can always just poke their front. We're kind of dead from here, but let's look at when you could have identified this and how you could have done so. Okay, so you check the wall. They had nothing there. How do we sniff this out? And right now we should just be drone, drone, drone. Nothing but drones. Even when a base is almost done. This is another area where you can think about squeezing out drones. Your base isn't even done yet. You can still send drones at that base. And then another thing that's a cool tactic is as the base is about to be done, one of these queens is in the main. She could be walked down to the natural and then injected as soon as it's up. So really placing a high premium on your inject uptime and having every hatch that you have injected as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, when the hatch is halfway built, are you sending drones to that, like ideally, or is it a little bit later than that, or what?
Not halfway. I would say like 90%.
Okay.
Yeah. Chat's asking how many safety roaches as you drone up to 50. No. You do not make safety roaches as you drone up to 50. You make the roaches after you get to 50.
So this feels like a little bit of a mindset switch for me. I would say, thinking as Zerg, we're trying to get online with your economy, and so with against Protoss, that only happens at 3 base saturation. Is that right?
Yeah.
So until then, we're just hitting that drone button.
Yeah. You have a window in time, and the window is based on the warp gate timing. The reason 50 drones is pretty much safe to go to in basically every case is because you have that time window where they have to research warp gate and then they have to get the units across the map. So getting to 50 is that sweet spot window where you can get to your saturation goal and then flip to army production. If, like in this game, you drone up to 37 and then you make roaches and then you make drones again, the window is closed. And then now you have 12 roaches that can only look up sadly at the carriers. But if you have 50 workers, and say you oversee your scout, or you just run links at the front and you see these carriers, then you make queens from all your bases, you make 3 spores at each base, and you get a spire. So we'll say this is your versus air defensive procedure. So we keep droning, make queens from all bases, 3 spores per base, spire, and yeah, you're pretty much good to go from there. Sweet. You want to have like 80-ish workers against air. But we're dead this game. Nice first one.
All right. Shall we move to the next?
Yes, sir.
All right. This one's a ZBT. Macro.
Lobby host. Wicked. ZVT is a really good matchup for working on your fundamentals. There's less trickery in Zerg versus Terran than there is versus Protoss, so much of it just boils down to who can make more workers over time and then who can hit 200 supply faster. If you wanted to break down StarCraft to a very, very fundamental approach, that would be think about what your drone goal is. That should be a number. Get to that point, and then get to 200 supply. The army that you make matters less than the speed that you max out. You could play Roach Hydra, you could play Roach Ravager, you could play Ling Bane Hydra. It doesn't really matter that much as long as you're able to really quickly and with conviction make a huge army.
Yeah, my general mindset is to hit with some type of aggression at 2 bases, and then macro out of there. Is that a common?
Against Terran?
Yeah.
That's bad. So that's a good thing to fix. Basically, it's the same reason that we can't really 2-base against Protoss. Terran pulls ahead of Zerg in the early game because of mules. Whenever they get their orbital command and they get the mule, that puts them ahead in mineral income of Zerg, so we're behind. That's why you see Terran harassing Zerg with Hellions, Terran's harassing Zerg with Marines. We can backstab them later on once we have our 3-base eco going, but in the early game, if we make Lings, we can't also make drones with that, so we put ourselves behind. And then Terran has lots of tools for defending stuff, like Hellions are super good at defending Lings. They have Cyclones and tanks. You might be able to get damage in sometimes, but to me, the best time to get damage in against Terran is once you have your Hive Tech. And I really just race my drone count up really high. I'm going to type you out a build here for ZVT that I use because it's different from the versus Protoss build. I go 16 hatch, you're going 13 overlord, 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. And then once you have that, you can go 21 drone rallied to third base. You probably see me do that on stream pretty often. I just drone up from 19 to 20, and then the egg that's 21 supply, I send it directly here. In this case, I think they had an SCV that they sent at it. But that's really good for getting your bases and your larva online really fast.
Yeah.
You could almost think about it like Terran is the police, and you're trying to drive to rich Zerg land, and you want to drive there as fast as possible, and that means just spamming the drone key, and it's their job to stop you.
Yeah, the build that you just mentioned is only good if you see a second command center, or is it just a general?
I think it's good in general because the drone gets there before your overlord gets across the map, and oftentimes they put their proxy barracks there at the third base. So your drone might even see it as you take it. But if they do have proxy, then obviously, yeah, don't take your third base if they're doing a one base to you.
Okay.
But I would assume that's a pretty small percentage of your games. We have a 2 queen in the main habit that I've seen in this game and the other game. Your queens should act like a squad that work together, and you have a couple queens that are not part of that squad. One queen stays in the main, she's always there. One queen stays in the natural, she's always there. And the rest of your queens, you can pretty much just sit them right here where this queen is. She's in the right spot because she can pivot to the right and defend the third. She can pivot to the left and defend the natural. So really just kind of using this extra mineral bank that you have to get your queen count up to 7 as fast as possible. And you want to have a squad of 4 and get really good with those 4 queens. I see that you have them on the 5 key in the Zerg versus Protoss game. So just have those queens on 5, have them at the third. Whenever the third is up, they inject it right away, and they put a creep tumor out in front right away. So if you had the other queens with the queen, against Hellbats, you can just back up. This is a really good example of a situation where you don't have to fight them right now. There's nothing of value at the third, aside from 2 larvae on the floor. You can just pivot back and bait them over here to buy yourself time, because Hellbats are really slow. So you don't need to fight here. Just get all your queens together, make queens at all your bases, and have your queens fight with your roaches. And if you took a fight right here, it would probably be really good for you. Yes, you're backing up. And you don't need to focus fire stuff with roaches, really, as a general rule. Roaches take care of themselves. If you have roaches and queens, your micro priority would be to keep the queens alive and have the queens heal stuff. Just let the roaches attack move. That'll save you some mouse clicks.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then some other timings for you. Say 2 queens, 4 lings. And then ling speed and pull off gas. And then the trick for saturating your gas in the main really neatly is the first inject that falls. I'll just show you that real quick. First inject that falls is 3 drones, and then all of those are rallied into the gas. It's happening right now. So that those 3 eggs right here, those you just rally back into the gas, and then 4 minute or 4:15 you can add another gas. So we'll say 4:15 layer plus second gas, 4:30 1 spore per base, and then you're basically good to go. We'll say roach horn at 14 as well, 4:15.
Are you regularly spending that extra click to like get the third drone out of your gas?
Yes, I take all workers out of gas after ling speed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you don't really need a trickle in of gas. Your goal is to rush your drone and your queen count up as fast as possible, and you don't need gas for that. One habit that I have when it comes to queens in the main is once I have a new queen, She's born, she injects the main, and then she joins the queen group and then runs to the front. And then you have another queen that's cooking up in the main, and the time it takes to build a queen is about the same as an inject, so you don't lose any inject up time. Like, say you pulled both of these queens from the main and injected your main and you made a new one, then you could just run over, a new queen comes out, and you're fine. So you didn't lose any inject up time, and you also increased your queen defense team. So try to get that 4 queens as fast as you can.
So right now I'm floating, what, 600 minerals, 500? So that could be spent into extra queens at this moment, right? Like, that's top priority.
Yeah, and you can be making overlords 2 at a time. If you want to follow a super general rule of thumb when it comes to how many overlords you need, when you have 1 base saturation, you can make them 1 at a time. Now that you have about 2 base saturation, you should be making them 2 or 3 at a time. And then once you have your full 3 base saturation and you're making a big roach army, you can make them 5 to 6 at a time. So just making 2 more overlords, that's a bit more of your money. And then if you made a queen at the 3rd, that would also spend more of your money. And then this is a really good time to take a 4th base. The 4th base is something that you should think about like a shield rather than something that's necessarily hard to defend, because a hatch is really tanky. It's got 1 armor, 1,500 health. So if you're ever floating money, I would say more than 800, and you can't spend any more into larva, and you can't make any more queens, just take a 4th base. It's a really good time to do so.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, and it's no sweat if you lose it. The worst thing to lose is drones. Losing a hatchery, you can recover from that. Losing a queen or 2, just get back up to your queen count that you're aiming for. So here, let's imagine you had all of your queens at the 3rd base, and then you had your roaches. This would be a really easy fight for you. So the queen sees this, she would just run right away and then look for a fight, say here, and then you pull the queen from the natural, add her to the group, make another queen there. Yeah, just make queens from all 3 bases and pull all your queens. In this fight, you should be able to crush it.
Lovely.
Yeah. It's good that you had a roach horn on time. If you don't have a roach horn against these attacks, it's pretty easy to die. And then a fun fact, we're low on queens this game, but if we had 7, queens deal more DPS to air than they do to ground. If you click a queen, you can see they have 2 different attacks. They have the acid spines, and then they have the talons. The acid spines do 9 damage at 7 range to air, with a weapon speed of 0.71. And then the talons deal 4 damage, they hit twice, range of 5, so less range, with weapon speed of 0.71. So the air attack is better in basically every category. It's further range, and it's more DPS. It's also less affected by armor because it's a 1 strong hit instead of 2 weak hits.
So you saw that medivac, so I would, in that case, focus fire the medivac?
Yeah, if the queens are in range, they'll do more damage to the medivac. The medivac is also a more precious unit because it's an energy unit, which means it's better to eliminate that from the game because you're also denying all the energy income that it's going to have for the rest of the game. So right now it's still gaining energy. That's going to translate into healing of their stuff over time. But if your queens have the option, just let the roaches A-move. The roaches will fight the ground shit. And then just have your queen group hit 5, right-click the medivac.
Sweet.
Yep. Your hive is pretty fast. I can respect it. Your Evo upgrade should be a higher priority. High prio on Evo chamber upgrades. Do you prefer like Roach Hydra or Ling Bane? Looks like you're playing kind of a Roach Hydra.
Yeah, I definitely prefer Roach Hydra, and I did pivot into Ling Bane here later.
Cool. I've coached quite a few Zergs who end up getting mentally stuck, not making Lings, but you seem to not have that issue, which is very good. Even if you do invest in Roach Hydra upgrades, just spending your extra minerals into some Lings is great. And then kind of like the versus Protoss game, try to make sure you get 3 bases of mineral saturation before you build your army. Because we're really all in with this army. If it doesn't do well for us, then we're basically dead. Because we don't have a 3rd base of eco to fall back on. Nice kill. And then as a reaction to this, we should drone the third base all the way. We're making more units. I think 70 is a good worker count to shoot for. So any ZVT where you get yourself to 70 workers and 7 queens, I would count that as a moral victory. You might, as you're getting used to it, lose to some timings and stuff, but with the amount of space that you have to drone, it'll make you way, way stronger in getting to 200 supply.
Yeah, it feels like getting to 3 base saturation is quite vulnerable for me at the moment. So it's I'm hesitant, you know.
Yeah. But it's more because you're switching back and forth between workers for a little bit, army for a little bit too long, and then back to workers. It makes it feel like that decision to make workers was incorrect, when really it was correct. It's just after the window of opportunity had already closed.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah. And if you want, I don't know how many replays you have, I can also walk you through just a 3 base build, so you kind of get a sense for how it feels to get your stuff going.
Yeah, I have plenty of replays. I'm also interested in just doing like a quick macro against AI if you're down to just watch while I do that, or
yeah,
what do you think is most effective?
I think that would help a lot with just getting a strong power spike, because the basic of the game is just 70 workers and then get to 170 supply and then start trading. And if you can manage that, all these opponents are pretty much going to fall over. And the attacks that they send at you are not very good. Your Roachborn timing was great. You can make 5 safety roaches against Terran, and then you're basically set to just make units as a reaction to things.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to that, like the reactionary Zerg style, and I want to make that part of my personality, but it's just still working there.
There's less reaction than you would think, just because you're going to be making army after you get your 70 workers anyway. Okay, we're pretty dead ski here. But they got a lot of supply of stuff. Another trick that you can do, this isn't the most crucial thing, but if you put 1 creep tumor in the main, kind of where your Baneling nest is being killed right now, and you put 2 spores here, one where this Overlord is on the left, and then one kind of where the shadow of the Medivacs are on the right, they can't do this kind of drop crap in the main. Lots of Zergs complain about these doom drops where they just send everything in the base. If you have 3 spores in the main, it'll just kill the Medivacs in like 6 seconds, and then all these units are stuck. So it makes the match linear and a lot easier to manage than them just going high ground and then low ground off the cliff and then back to the main, and you're just chasing them back and forth. So the 2 spores in the main base, just to really put pressure on these Medivacs, is very cheap. You pretty much always have the money for that. All you need is just a creep tumor in the main. And then you can put 2 spores there. Yeah.
2 spores.
2 spores on main drop cliff in main if they are playing bio. Sweet.
And at this point, their supply is way more than mine. I'm just playing behind.
Yes. We're not completely dead, but we're mostly dead. Our upgrades were pretty behind this game. That's one of their... Actually, they didn't get upgrades either. What are they doing? Okay, their 2-2's almost done. You have 9 queens now, 65 workers. You killed a lot of their SCVs. So this could be worse for you.
To me, the rest of this game is just taking bad fights.
Yeah. We're just kind of behind. They have a good army comp. And we also lost our creep, which is a bit of a boomer. For outer bases that you take, you don't usually need gases at them. It ends up being a problem where Zerg floats a bunch of gas when you have more than 4 extractors cooking at a time. You want to have, against Terran anyway, a pretty good balance between Lings, Banes, Ultras, and then maybe some Corruptors or Hydras, just a little bit of anti-air. And a lot of those units are mineral only, or they cost more minerals than gas. So I almost never take gas at my 4th or my 5th base until my main is mined out. That should help with your resource imbalance here, because we have a lot of gas and then fewer minerals. So this base that you're taking down here, you can just cook minerals at it. Like put 20 workers on minerals. That's probably better than having gases here. Same thing for even your 4th base. Sometimes you can just work with 6. And then having a lot more
Very
lings.
sneaky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Upgraded lings. That's one of the units that I would say is one of our most powerful. So let's do a ZVT build, and I will walk you through it.
Okay.
If you pass me party leader, I will host us a map for, yeah.
Okay, promote to leader. There you go.
For continuity's sake, we'll just do the same map that we saw the replays on. And then I want you to pay attention as we do this to how much stuff you have and what it feels like. I'll just kind of dictate and walk through it. Are you ready?
Oh man, I haven't done my push-ups.
That's okay. We can push up after
Yeah, let's
coaching.
go.
Okay. Sup, man? You look the same since 10 years ago. What's your secret? Full night's sleep, hydration, good diet, and then enjoy life on the regular. You tend to look less tired if you're happy. All right, drone. And then an overlord. Cool. Let's see how fast we can get you to 70 drones. Then drone again. When you have 200 minerals and 16 supply, send a drone down. Perfect. We go in. We expand. Sick. Then one more drone mining minerals. Next drone rally to the extractor. And then the next drone rally to a spawning pool.
Where's the high ground on this map?
After you take the gas and pool, I will show you. There's a little black hole thing to the right of their natural, and then there's a blue square. That's the high ground pedestal. You just clicked it. Nice. Filling the gas. You can set your worker rally to the natural. Perfect. And then make another drone. Rally to the natural. And then your 21 drone, you can rally to a 3rd. Seek. Great.
You said 3rd to Terran. If you're against Terran, do you take it here?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, great.
Yep. 2 queens, 4 lings. Okay, your worker is going to get to the 3rd. You're going to pull off gas before then. So pull off gas now. Yep. Make sure you return those gas so you get 100.
Oh, I need
That's
one
okay.
more.
That's fine. Make an overlord now. And drone. Okay. You got enough. Cool. Inject the main, creep the natural. And you can make one more overlord. And then all drones. Sweet. Nice. You pulled the queens down. They're on 5 now. Make another queen in the main. And then keep making drones. Then make another overlord. And then all drones. Inject the natural and then creep again. Make another overlord. Fill the gas in the main. You can just box 3 since you have 19 up there.
Pull them now.
No, refill the gas. Yeah, just pull workers in.
Okay, there.
Cool. You can make another couple queens and keep droning. You can get a roach warren. It's around 4 minutes. You can set the main worker rally to the main again. Make another overlord or two. Keep droning. Drone, drone, drone. Nice. When the queen in the main is done, get a lair. And take one of those queens and add them to the creep group and fill the other gas in the main. It's 4:30, make 1 spore per base. Set all your worker rallies to the 3rd now. Except the main. Still need 4 workers in the main. Now your roach horn is done. Go ahead and make like 3 to 4 roaches. You can fix your drones to the natural. They're just hugging the base. Cool. Drone that 3rd. All drones. You can make 2 evos in the main. 5:10's a good time for that. Rally all workers to the 3rd. Drone, drone, drone. Making 7 at a time. Nice. Make another 2 overlords. You can get roach speed. Just helps you deal with mech stuff if they harass you. Keep droning. You're at 60. You're at 67 now. Keep making a few more, and you can grab a 4th base. Sweet. Double upgrades. You can transfer some workers from the main, send them to a different base. Take your other gases at the 3rd. Grab that 4th base. And we are now done droning. So make 6 overlords. Make sure you get both upgrades. Grab a macro hatch. And then now just try to tidy up your saturation where everything looks good. So you have a bit too many in the main, you can send them to other bases. But this is a big Zerg economy now. We're crushing it. Nice. Okay, spam roaches until you run out of gas, and then make lings with your extra minerals. Spread creep with your queens when you have the time. Get a 4th base when you can. And keep cooking units now. You're done with your drones.
Oh, no gas there. Oops.
That's all good. Spam roaches, spam lings. You can make another 6 overlords too, and you'll be able to get maxed out. Sweet. Fill the gas at your natural. You can slap down a Bane nest. Just imagining in case it was bio. You can also get an infestation pit. Keep spamming roaches. 200 supply. Go, go. Yeah. Nice. 4 more overlords. Spamlings. You want to make lings for a little bit, just to bank up some gas so you can afford your 2-2 upgrades. Hitting a 2-2 timing is really, really strong. So try to get that 2-2 and make all lings. And now your main's a little bit oversaturated. You could box about half of them and just send them to your 4th. 2-2 and then Bane speed.
Oh, okay.
Order doesn't matter. You need both of them.
Yeah, great.
All lings. Okay. Look at your enormous army. This is 8 minutes in the game. And you have 70 workers and a shit whack of army.
Feels good, man.
Yeah, that's incredibly strong. Another thing your queens could do, they could run to the 4th and inject that, and you can basically go kill your opponent now. And then one other technique is as you push, make units through the attack. So hatches larva and then spam a bunch of lings while you're focusing on your micro. And that's a very fast max out. And then get a hive, infestation pit. You can just get some tech behind this as well. And then taking a 5th base behind an attack is good too. So you have a plan A and a plan B. But you have 1/1 Ling, Roach, Ravager, Baneling. Your 2/2 is halfway done. You have a macro hatch, you have a 4th base, your bases are injected. Fantastic, very good job.
Whew. Nice.
That's how you do it. That's how you drone your bases. You can look at what Platinum people are doing all day long, but if you're not droning your bases, then it doesn't really make sense to try to counter their specific stuff. It's kind of like a foot race, where you and the opponent are both racing to get more stuff on the map. And if you're simply faster than your opponent, then it doesn't matter if they go air or if they go ground. It doesn't matter if they're going mech or if they're going bio. Doesn't matter if they're making stalkers or they're making zealots. If you have more shit, the Ling Roach Ravager just runs over them. So Ling Roach Ravager is your mainstay of just really tough Zerg stuff that can fight, that doesn't really require tons of micro. It's low tech, and you can make them in huge numbers. So the essence of it is get that 3 base really, really, really fast with your saturation, 16 workers on minerals at a minimum, and then you really blow up your supply. Like you noticed, I was saying make overlords 5 at a time, 5 or 6 at a time. As soon as you hit that 70 point, you flip from drones to overlords to maxing out. That's the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that cycle of the macro cycle feels like it speeds up more like gradually over the course of the game, and I have a hard time keeping up with it all.
Yep, but with practice, you'll slay. We can hit another replay or two if you want.
Yeah, sure. I've got more.
Yo, big ups arranged. Yeah, Carson Show. I like doing the build order walkthrough, especially if like an opponent is doing just normal shit and we just fell behind. It's better to just correct what caused us to fall behind than to over focus on what they were doing. Because your platinum opponents, your diamond opponents, what they're doing is not even that refined. If you just refine what you're doing, then if you face that same Terran that we faced last time, you'll just have like 4 times more shit. And whenever they go to attack you, they'll just be running for the hills because they're like, why do you have so much stuff? You're smurfing. And then they'll start yelling at you. So we want to drone like a god. Don't be scared. It's one of the reasons why I'm totally happy to fight against a turtle player is I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. I like droning. I like taking bases. So if they're delaying the game and stuff, I'll just go for 100 drones of Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager, Corruptor, and you can just bash armies into them and then remax instantly. What is your plan in ZVZ?
I'm not super confident with Ling Bane, so I usually move into Roach. I think I did it slow here, and that's why I lost.
ZVZ. Okay. So ZVZ, I frame this matchup a little bit different from the other ones. I think about it a lot like a fighting game, where every time there's a tech that gets unlocked, there's usually a battle, because people unlock their tech at a very similar time. So as soon as link speed is done, there's oftentimes a clash, and it's best to just accept that and to know how your build relates to the meta of other builds. So if you're going to go lings into roaches, that's a valid opener. If you're going to go wall off into roaches, that's a valid opener. But your opener should be really crisp, so it leads up into your first punch or kick, whatever you want to articulate it as. But when I've coached some Diamond Zergs, the early game is just such a muddy mess that if you don't attack them or do anything, then your opponent can get away with really weird greedy builds that they don't really deserve to get away with because you don't apply pressure. So what I would recommend for ZVZ is get your ling speed first 100 gas right away. And then when your ling speed is about done, just making 2 overlords and then making a big round of lings. And then kind of taking the match from there. So let's type you out a build. You got your overlord, 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. You could go pool first or hatch first. It doesn't really matter that much. The main principle is ling speed first 100 gas. And then you can stay on gas. If you want to play ling roach, you don't even need to take a bane nest. Just get a roach warren. Say roach warren at like 3 minutes. And then ling speed should be kicking in at around 330. So we'll say when ling speed is at 70% done, make 2 overlords. And then make lings with your first injects. After, or as ling speed is almost done.
Are you foregoing gas there?
You keep on gas. For ZVZ specifically. The reason we keep on gas in ZVZ is because of attacks from the opponent. We either need banelings or we need roaches if our opponent attacks us with banelings or roaches. But just looking at your money here, imagine that your bank that you have was all roaches, and then you send lings behind that, your opponent's going to be dead. Your first clash of stuff is a really big deal. And then the main procedure is as you're taking that fight, you drone behind the pressure to get ahead. So your next step would be droning into your 2 base and having your 3rd. Also, I like taking the 3rd at 30 supply. So I'll say that 30 supply 3rd base, which is the same versus Protoss. Again, the 3rd base, you don't need to think of it as a I must defend this. It can be a shield for you, where if they commit 50 lings to kill it, that's totally fine. You don't need a spine in the main. You would prefer that at the natural. This is so weird. It's like a standoff where your opponent's just scared to drone. What are they doing? Ooh, double upgrades. This build would instantly die against heavy pressure.
Are you looking at the Evo chambers and they're like pulsating more or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're jiggling, they're researching stuff. 1-1 upgrades as a Zerg build is a greed cheese. It's not safe. If you just translate the gas cost of the armor upgrade and the gas cost of the melee upgrade, or even the ranged upgrade, that's 6 roaches worth of gas for the armor and 4 roaches worth of gas for the other one. So that's 10 roaches they put themselves behind to be able to get these upgrades. And if you don't punish that, then suddenly they're going to have very strong lings that are harassing you. And this kind of points back to the thing I was mentioning, which was you need to apply some pressure against Zerg to make sure they don't do dumb shit like this. This is the kind of build that should not be allowed. And if you just go hatch gas pool, ling speed first 100 gas, and then a bane nest or a roach warren with your next 50 gas, then they just die. We don't really need a spine either if we're making fighting units. Cool.
Oh man, it feels bad watching this.
Do you want a ZVZ build walkthrough? It'll take less time. We don't need to go to 200 supply. I just wanted to show you how to immediately apply pressure.
Yeah,
so give me a party lead. Okay. ZVZ is a fighting game. Your first tools, you want to thrash them.
Okay, let's run it down.
Ling speed, first 100 gas. And then you could try a Roach Warren. It doesn't matter. Roach Warren is good.
With pool first, do you do gas before your hatch? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter that much. I would say... Yeah, I would get the hatch first. Like, hatch after the pool, before the gas.
Okay.
Wow, you said camera hotkeys. What a god. He's setting camera hotkeys in gold. Watch him get to masters in 2 weeks.
No, my goal is diamond by May. That's what I'm trying for.
Okay, it's all about the drone count. That 70 drone is going to be your play, and then in ZVZ, you just pick up wins with murder. Cool, grabbing that hatch. Your AI opponent is not Zerg, but it doesn't matter. I'll still tell you the build.
Great.
Drone. 1 rally to gas, 1 rally to a pool. Nice. Nice. Drones rallied into gas. And if you really want to get hostile to them, you can make an overlord at 19 and then make 6 lings whenever your pool is done. That gives you a lot of...
I do like taking an earlier overlord than third base just because I forget overlords all the time.
Sure. So let's do 19 overlord. So say 2 queens, 6 lings. Did I tell him the awesome thing about control groups with takeaway units, Mr. Streamer? No, we're not focusing on that yet. That was more relevant to a Diamond 3 student I was coaching. That'll probably be something we'll focus on for our next one. Oh, you can stay on gas in CVZ.
Right.
Yep. And drone up to 30. Send 1 worker toward the third. You can get your 30 supply third base. It also counts as most of an overlord for the supply. You get 6 supply from a hatch. Inject both bases. Cool. Drone. Got your third. Nice. It's hotkeyed. Or you need to add it to the control group. Sweet. Okay, make a Roach Warren. And then drone up to 36. Nice. Okay, now make 2 overlords. Inject both bases again. You don't need to pull the queens down to the front in ZVZ too much. Only if they're really cheesing you.
Okay.
Yep. Got your 2 overlords. Okay, now start making lings. Just pausing for a second. As a reference, when you hit 8 workers on the line at the natural, that's a good time to get violent in ZVZ. You have 16 in the main, mining minerals. You have 3 in the gas. This is the time. Ling speed is about to be done. You've got 90% ling speed done. You just want to dump all of your money into army for a little bit. Get your army going, and then as your army is marching across the map, you could drone your bases behind it.
Okay.
Just wanted to kind of pause and point that out. So now make all army stuff. You're making lings, and then when your roach horn is done, you're going to make roaches. You can make 1 more overlord as well. And then because you made a 3rd queen, you could send a queen to the 3rd to inject that too. The larva advantage is one of the hugest ones in ZVZ, because you're fighting over the same kinds of mechanics. Okay, so start spamming roaches now. And then just inject all 3 bases. 1 queen per base. Spam roaches. Try to get your money as low as possible. And then make another overlord. You got 8 roaches cooking. Perfect. And your lings are out pressuring right now. They might be able to deal damage, but they might have to fall back. Just kind of giving an example. And then now once your roaches are out, they can join your lings. And basically, with these tools, if you just grab everything you have, if they go for that double Evo chamber crap, they're dead. If they drone too much, they're also dead. If they have enough to defend your stuff, you're droning right now. So you're macroing behind this, get an Evo, and get a lair. So you're basically teching into Lair for speed roaches and for +1 range attack. And then this is your first strike that allows you to punish greed and then also be safe if they're all inning you. So you have some tools to work with in the early game.
Yeah, just you're kind of riding off the back of the Ling speed, right?
Yes.
Just hitting it with that.
Ling speed is done, and there should be something violent that happens.
Sweet.
Yes. Well, cool. So the main fundamentals are really filling your bases for mineral saturation fast, keeping your inject uptime very, very tight, getting 70 drones as quickly as you possibly can, and then hitting 200 supply. And once you get in a good routine of that and you feel like you're able to manage that, for future sessions, we can focus on like how to do backstabs, how to like do multi-prong stuff if you wanted to. But right now, just the bread and butter of hitting 200 supply quick is going to cause you to like leap over gold into high platinum pretty fast.
Yeah, what would you say if you saw our future coaching sessions? If you saw it, you'd be like, okay, yes, good job. Let me do those. Just droning.
Droning and inject uptime. If your 3 hatcheries are injected constantly and you still lost a game, then we have some discussion to do to figure out like what the opponent was doing that set you off balance. But if you can just get your macro setup to be like a machine that never stops, then a lot of these opponents, they're going to fail to deal damage to you, and then they're going to fail to keep pace with your production over time. So we're just trying to ramp up your production so it's so strong that your army management is a lot easier to do. In later sessions, you might take some bad fights, like where you don't manage the units well. We didn't really focus on micro this time, but that is something that you do have to figure out is how do you pre-split your army and take fights? How do you get a specific read to know that they're going to go for a cheese or something against you? The opponents that you faced, none of them really did a super cheesy build, so we didn't really need to go over any of those. But once you get into diamond level opponents, they will start like copying a YouTube video for a build and sending that at you. And if they practice a YouTube video, it's going to be a pretty sharp timing. So that's something that we'll expand into. But for the purpose of prepping for next time, try to collect some replays where you got to your worker count and you still died. If you got to 70 workers and you still died, I would be curious, because I don't think very many people would be able to stop you if you can get to 70 workers.
Okay.
Yosh.
Good stuff. I got some action items.
Let's go. Well, thanks for your big energy with the stream. Appreciate you. And great having a coaching session.
Thank you, dude.
Hell yeah. I'm going to put one final note here. To drone like fuck, then max out. That is our plan for session number 1. I'm going to put it in red so you can see it. There you go. And I emailed you the notes there.
Legend. Thank you.
Sweet action. Well, thank you, Kono-san, and I will see you on the next one. GG.
Sounds good.
Swarm them. Nice.